thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
You are listening to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. It is the 22nd day in the month of January 2025. That's 22 days down in the new year. And of course, there's still many opportunities to do amazing things. Although the year did kick off with a bang, from controversy to world powers to some sort of disruption in global order to seeing historical groundbreaking events occur within the political space in Nigeria and even outside the country. It's been a very eventful 22 days, I must tell you. And if you're somebody who follows the station very closely, we've been able to keep you up to speed with all of these events as they unfold, which is why we advise that you join the Mainland FM family. We're live every single day of the week and even the weekend, with every show designed to keep you informed, to keep you entertained, and also give you a platform to air your opinions on national and even international matters. Once again, welcome to radio. It's Mainland 98.3 FM. But for this morning, for those of you who probably are listening to us for the first time, you're on to the Morning Express. Now we begin at 5 a.m. and all the way to 11 a.m., comprising of about 4 to 5 segments, right, of news, of information, even matters that allow for you to look into the resources of Nigeria in terms of human capital, amongst other things. But for this morning, what we're doing right now is trends in the papers. This is more or less a manifestation of our desire to keep you informed and to keep you aware of the things that are happening in the country, but we're going to be referencing mostly the stories that have made it to the front pages of our dailies. That's Guardian, Vanguard, Punch newspaper in no particular order. My name is Sage Babalola. For this endeavor, I will not do this by myself. Fuad will be joining us via the phone line as we attempt to make sense of some of the many reports that we have seen or that the editors of our papers have put together for us this morning. Some new, some developing. We're actually not just on terrestrial radio. We've been able to break the barrier and also attend to geographical concerns, which means that for any part of the world that you're in, you can be a part of the conversation. You could either listen via Radio Garden, which is available across the world. All you have to do is have internet connection. You can download the app, which I advise, or you could just listen via the website, meaning you could go to Radio Garden via your browser. You could search in Mainland 98.3 FM and listen to us, or just download the app from App Store, Play Store, whatever application you're using, and then you can search Mainland 98.3 FM on the app and you can listen to us. We're also on social media, so do well to follow us across all our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X as well. But we're currently streaming the program live on Facebook and on YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. Welcome once again. It's the Morning Express, trends in the papers. I'm Sage Babalola, and I think we have Fuad Side online as we begin to discuss. Fuad, good morning to you. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you very much. All right, let's get straight into conversation for this morning, Fuad. We have the Punch, Guardian, Vanguard newspaper. I believe we can actually start with the Punch newspaper. They're kicking off with security issues this morning, as the report tells us. Hold on a second, please pardon me. The report talks to us about the southwest and all the effort of securities. With bandits influx, Amotekun mobilizes 2,000 men to comb southwest forest. That's the headline. Now the story reads, the Amotekun Corps has mobilized over 2,000 personnel to flush out bandits and other criminals operating in the forest in the southwest region. Ogun and Osun states topped the list with targeted 1,000 recruits each, while Oyo recruited 480 men last October as part of efforts to curtail the influx of bandits. Now the Corps has confirmed to the Punch on Tuesday that more men would soon be recruited to strengthen the southwest security network and enhance its operation against bandits, kidnappers, and other hoodlums. So, Fuad, we know about this because the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, had raised this particular alarm, which has caused for collaboration amongst security networks and what have you. But the National Bureau of Statistics, did put forward quite the numbers, and I'd like to read out those numbers so we use it whilst we're analyzing the story. Now, the National Bureau of Statistics revealed in a survey last December that Nigerians paid a total of 2.23 trillion naira as ransom. That's between May of 2023 and April of 2024. And also, the MBS put forward their Crime Experience and Security Perception Survey report. And according to that report, an estimated 51.89 million crime incidents were recorded across Nigerian households in the reference period. The survey also gave us a breakdown of regional crime rate. For example, the Southwest recorded 6.9 million crime incidences during the period. The Northwest, unfortunately, reported the highest incidence of crime. They had about 14.4 million cases that were reported, followed by the North Central region with about 8.8 million incidents. So, Fuad, we have figures that are rather alarming, and we have a center that is very confident that all of their security initiatives is yielding benefit reports. But we have statistics from the MBS that, in a manner of speaking, says otherwise.
Well, the figures are scary, very alarming, like you rightly put it. But what I think the major focus here on this particular story would have to be the influx or the infiltration of the southwestern part of the country by these criminals. I think the last time the governor for your state has said that, look, some criminals in the northwestern part of the country, as a result of the military operations, have started to find their ways into our forests. And it was important for us to pay attention to these things and begin to look at how not to create any safe haven for them here in any of the southwestern states. Again, I think as a result of that, there was a meeting of all the governors, and we're now already seeing that, look, we have recruitment of about 2,000 men now into the Amotekun Corps to help with, insecurity in the southwest, probably chase out these guys from our bushes. Well, anything that would help, it should be commended, But I know it's beyond our Amotekun. What we have at hand cannot be solely, handled by Amotekun. It will help, no doubt, because again, I'd assume that they'll be working with the locals, picking intelligence. It will be nice to also see the synergy between Amotekun and other security outfits, civil corps,
Civil society organizations,
Nigerian police, the Nigerian police, the Nigerian army. I think it has to be a joint effort, and the governors must now deploy their security votes into this thing. This is not the time to just pocket these security votes. There's now a serious need for it, if you understand what I'm saying. So it's not just enough to recruit 2,000 men. How are you going to equip them? What kind of weapons are going to carry? I know that the law still does not permit them to carry sophisticated weapons. They are probably not going to be able to carry AK-47. But whatever weapon they are able to carry, part of their job should also be intelligence gathering. To go into the communities. Our forests are vulnerable. Sage, let me be very frank with you. I've traveled in some parts of the southwestern states, and you just know that, look, there's really nobody taking care of these forests. These forests are there. People go in and come out. You have people who call themselves herders, for example. I'm not saying they are criminals, but some of them have also indicated that, look, they could be culpable in some of these things. So it's a welcome development, but it's not the problem that Amotekun can solely solve. It requires more than that.
Right. Well, just like you rightly said, Fuad, the report even does highlight the fact that they cannot operate automatic weapons, which means that most of their weaponry will be locally sourced or locally made. But what they're actually focusing on is not even the acquisition of weapons. This entire initiative is centered around really looking for more weapons. They just need access to information and also protection of the borders. But of course, the use of weapons might become a necessity, at least to the capacity that they can. So that's that particular story. Yes, that's that particular story regarding the influx of bandits to the southwest and the operations of the state to provide security for individuals. Well, we have a report here also on the front page of the Punch that highlights our increasing public debt. Nigeria's public debt is currently 142 trillion naira and borrowing is rising. Nigeria's total public debt rose to 142.3 trillion as of September 30, 2024, and that represents an increase of 5.97% compared to the 134.3 trillion in June of 2024. Now, the debt is comprising of external and domestic obligation, and it reflects the significant impact of exchange rates depreciation on external borrowing when converted to naira term. Now, data from the Debt Management Office, showed that external debt in dollar terms increased marginally by 0.29% from $42.90 billion in June to $43.03 billion in September. However, in naira terms, external debt surged by 9.22%, rising from 63.07 trillion to 68.89 trillion within the quarter. Well, they go on and on to give us some sort of breakdown of our domestic debt across different months, and the highlight for of this story is that yes, we are borrowing increasingly, but our debt rising significantly is mostly attributed to the fluctuations between the dollar and the naira. So this increase is not solely because we borrowed more money. The monies that we were borrowing, or the debt that we had initially, increased because of the depreciation of the naira. So our debt increased first of all because of the fluctuations, then compounded by the fact that we're still looking to borrow more money, and as it stands forward, we're owing as much as 142 trillion naira, and we are definitely going to borrow more, especially when it comes to funding of our 2025 budget. Fuad.
Well, Sage, here we are, and that's our reality at this time. And I'm sure there are people that will still come up with the argument that, look, you can still borrow more. Remember that one of the senators, Senator Jᴏɪᴜ, told us that the monies we are still borrowing now,
small.
They are money for pizza. I mean, what did he call it?
The money is small, basically. That there are countries that operate larger budgets, smaller countries.
What are we borrowing now? That we should go after the big money. Maybe go after like $50 billion. He himself is a perpetual debtor. Go and check his record. You know, a lot of the businesses that they ran in the past ran into serious trouble. He couldn't meet his debt obligation. The man that is advising Nigeria to go after $50 billion, $100 billion, that the monies we are still borrowing at this time is actually chicken change. What are you doing? Borrow more. And the argument will always come from, this idea of, our debt to GDP still gives us room to continue to borrow. So I'll probably not bother myself. And if you look at the story very well, you have a Dr. Muda Yusuf, for example, who has given us an economic perspective. You understand what I'm saying? And I've said that, look, we're going to run into trouble. There's no doubt. All the indices are there. The indications are there that, look, on this trajectory, we're going to run into trouble. We're going to get stuck. We're not the only nation that have done that in the past. We have seen nations who did the same thing we're doing now and ran into serious trouble. So we're already on our way into the ditch of a dead body that we might not be able to survive. Forget about, like I said, I'm not going to disturb myself with all of the figures, all the data, that we're going to throw around in this argument. So they'll probably tell you our debt to GDP is still hovering around 30-35%. So what are we saying? We can still borrow more. The United States is the biggest debtor. They are still borrowing. But we've said quite a lot already on this platform as to why our own debt situation was going to become problematic and why it's not sustainable and why it's not even reasonable to go on this borrowing spree. But look, they might argue about our economic knowledge of economics and data when it comes to supporting our arguments against this reckless borrowing. But they cannot argue against our common sense when it comes to the level of corruption we have in the country. I keep telling you, Sage, that whenever we talk about our debt to GDP ratio, that still gives us the leverage to continue to borrow. We should not also forget to put side by side with that data our corruption index. Because at the end of the day, Sage, what are we borrowing for? What the monies we are borrowing, what are we saying that clearly justifies or that can clearly justify the borrowing pattern that we're seeing now? When Buhari left office, the last president, Sage, I think the cumulative debt was around 87 trillion naira.
Yeah.
And in less than 2 years, we are close to doubling that. We're now shooting 142. Sage. We're now already shooting 142. And so we need to now ask ourselves, in the last 1.5 to 2 years, can we really say that, look, the doubling of our debt is reflective of anything that we have? That we can begin to say, okay, well, the borrowing is already bringing all of these things to take. What also makes this borrowing more problematic, Sage, is our budget. The things we are putting monies into. Remember that, look, our 49.7 trillion 2025 appropriation bill, the budget, probably going to go up. I'm sure after all the committee, blah, 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 and all of that, probably be shooting over 50 trillion. The things we have reviewed so far about the budget, what does it tell you about our borrowing pattern? That we are still going to be funding the budget, some of the reckless appropriations with borrowing, 8 billion to sensitize people on how to pay their NEPA bill. And all of the kind of, we are still buying SUVs, we are still buying computers. So half of the things we put in the budget comes under what I evaluate as reckless, useless spending. And the sad part of it all is that, look, a large chunk of those things will still be done through borrowing. So here we are. So for those economists and their zealots who will come up and begin to throw figures around, I tell you that when you put those figures to continue to justify the borrowing we have now, can we also discuss our corruption index? Because people will continue to talk as if we are not Nigerians. We don't see the things that happen. We don't know the things that happen. We don't know how procurement has become the most fraudulent tool of stealing public funds in this country. And as if we are aliens. Anyways, that's our reality, and it's just good for Nigerians to know what we're dealing with.
Thank you very much for that's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. I mean, the EFCC chair did allude to the point you made last, the fact that procurement has become something of the conduit pipe through which a lot of corruption
and the biggest fraud we have procurement
happens.
Those things is not only at the federal level.
Yeah.
The procurement process in this country, if you go into it, you'll be shocked.
I will be shocked. Me, I don't think there's. I don't think I can be shocked again because I mean.
You know, the EFCC chairman once told us that if I tell you the things I know, the things we see, it will make you cry. Well, maybe you cry. You might not be shocked.
You should not. I'm really not interested in the information now. I'm already stressed about you. The reports and information of paper is doing enough for me. Many thanks. I don't even see properly in the first place. That report is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. We're moving on to other stories now. Fuad, NNPCL raises petrol price to 990 naira in FCT and 960 naira in Lagos. Now, retail outlet owner by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited have raised the pump price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, from 965 naira to 990 naira per litre in the Federal Capital Territory. They also increased the price in Lagos from 925 to 960 per litre. This is even as the price of crude oil showed a marginal decline on Tuesday. Checks by correspondents and some of the filling station indicated that the prices have been adjusted. Now the amount is 20 naira or 2.1% and more than the 970 retail price announced by Dangote Refinery in partnership with MRS filling station, Ardova and Hayden. And the report tells us that the price adjustment apparently reflects ongoing market dynamics and aligns with the deregulation policy in the petroleum sector, which allows prices to fluctuate based on supply and demand. Fuad, the report is drawing our attention to the fact that, well, since we wanted deregulation in that sector, and we wanted...
Who wanted regulation in that manner? Who wanted?
Maybe not in this manner. I mean...
Don't remember who wanted it.
Okay.
You know the things we wanted.
Okay. I mean, we're a part of larger society. The government had always spoken about how...
I was not part of society that wanted regulation in the way they've done it.
Okay, maybe not in the way they've done it, but it's been a lot of conversations around. Maybe their technique is questionable, but deregulation has been a constant conversation within the oil sector, where you cannot fix price in that sector, allow for competition and allow prices to be based on said competition. Now Dangote had, I think he reduced to 8.99 thereabout, but and based on the increase, but as the crude oil prices are reducing, it seems like our own pump prices are going up. So we're now back to paying almost 1,000 naira for the commodity.
You see, whoever told them that prices cannot be fixed? Who told them that prices cannot be fixed or cannot be controlled in a manner to help the most vulnerable in the society? See, and when the president, before I even go into the figures we have now and the crux of the matter on this particular story, when the president was campaigning and he said, what does that statement tell you, Sage?
Obviously would. It's price control. I know that.
It's price control. God bless you. Listen to me, because everything has now changed. Right. And that's why I say that, look, they can question our economic knowledge. They can say anything they like. bring up figures and begin to deceive themselves and live in delusion and illusion about this thing. I say they cannot question our common sense. And that I stand to be corrected. I want everybody to challenge us on that. When the president was campaigning, when he was campaigning and he said, one ló máa di 200, one ló máa di 500, what was he trying to tell the voters at that time?
We would control the price to be minimal.
Chicken. So how did we then move from that to no, I don't believe in price control again? We don't mean now. It's just common sense. We're just analyzing common sense here. So we are going. Look, let me be very frank with you. That we are not paying attention to. So what then is the benefit of the country being an oil-producing nation? See, if we are going to be left in the hands of these capitalists and the market forces, who are likely going to be more about profiteering. So where lies the opportunity for ordinary and poor Nigerians who are supposed to benefit from these God-given resources called crude oil? That's number two. Then number three, who says that look, now that we have functional refineries, at least we have the Dangote refinery, hey, Daddy?
Yeah.
We have Port Harcourt refinery, according to them, like that started working. We have JᴏɪR refinery and some other modular refineries in the country. And now, according to the government, we're already pushing about 1.8 million barrels per day crude oil production. Can't we, if importation was the problem that created the extremely corrupt subsidy regime by the elitist class, so it's not you and I, is it you and I that had vessel that was bringing it well? Okay, if that was problematic, and so that had to stop, like they stopped it in the name of the very short deregulation that we're talking about. Okay, what I'm saying is, can't we subsidize the price of crude oil? At least the PIA has said that they should retain about 450,000 barrels of crude oil per day for local use. Sage, at that point, who says because of the rising inflation, rising cost of living and everything that is tied to petroleum products, the government at this point cannot look at subsidizing the price of crude oil? Now that we have functional refineries. Okay, yes, we said we're going to do the naira for crude, sell in naira. But can't we also tinker with the price of crude temporarily to bring some form of support to Nigeria? So we are now left. So if something happens now, the kind of disruption that Donald Trump is bringing to the world now, in terms of trade, if something happens to crude oil and it balloons through the roof, stage, to maybe over $100, so are we saying that PMS will go to 1,500 and the government will not find a way to do something about it? Because that's what we have been told. We are not left to our fate. We've been left in the cold. Let the so-called market, a very corrupt market force, so very shortly corrupt, clumsy market forces that we are talking about here. There are no clear indices of the calculation. We don't even know what we're dealing with. So, look, that's why I said that, look, I will leave every other economic jargons for this morning, but talk about the common sense of promises that have been made that is not kept. And that's why I asked you very simple question. Let anybody come on radio this morning to say that, look, what the president told Nigeria about ᴛᴏᴜ is not price control. To the extent now that price control has not been jettisoned, has not been thrown out of the windows. So what are we talking about here? We continue to suffer in vain, and then we keep suffering, the pace keeps going on, and what you have are the records of operations you've seen in the budget, 8 billion naira for somebody to come and say Nigerians have to pay, and some other billions of buying SUVs, buying this, buying and that, and Nigerians are suffering in vain. Look at what Oyedepo told you now, say, about dollar racketeering, the forex corruption. Is it you and I? So, look, the reality is that the president needs to know that the poor masses are just suffering in vain. His reforms are not working, and they will never work.
That's on page 10 of the Punch newspaper in a related but slightly different story. Tinubu promises fairness as Ogoni oil exploration plan resumes. Now, President Bola Tinubu, in a call for unity and collaboration, has urged the people of Ogoni land to embrace mutual trust, expand consultation, and work together to bring peace, development, and environmental restoration to the region. He said his administration will prioritize peace, justice, and sustainable development in the area. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, revealed details of the meeting in a statement that he signed on Monday. At the meeting, President Tinubu passionately called for unity and reconciliation, urging the Ogoni people to set aside historical grievances and work together to achieve peace and develop a clean environment. He says we must work together with mutual trust, go back home, do more consultation, and embrace each other. And we must make this trip worthwhile by bringing development to Ogoni land. We cannot in any way rewrite history, but we can correct some of the anomalies of the past going forward. We cannot heal the wound if we continue to be angry. And he directed the National Security Advisor to coordinate the negotiation as he called for inclusive consultation and mutual understanding. It goes on and on and on, but we don't really have the time to read verbatim the statement as put out by Bayo Ononuga. But in addition to reconciliation effort by the president when it comes to the conversation around Ogoni land, I mean, Sims Fubara was in that meeting. Iṛsoᴜnɪᴏᴜ was also there. It was a number of people that were in there. We saw the pictures yesterday. They were all smiles, so we would like to assume that they had a decent conversation. But the primary conversation here is the fact that he's calling for exploration, oil exploration, to return to Ogoni land. And if there's anybody who, I mean, most people would of course know what happened there, the environmental pollution, the protest that happened. I think, what's his name? Is it Ken? The man, the one that was the man that was executed as well. Yes, there's a lot of things, conflict, insecurity that this oil exploration brought, and there's one prominent oil company that their name continued to pop up when it comes to this particular story, which caused the pause in oil exploration in Ogoni land. Now, Fuad, we are at a time where we need to up our crude oil production. So the president is here trying to have conversations with these people that we will do better. We would explore, we would make resources available for proper cleanup so we don't destroy your aquatic structure here, especially because most of them are their source of livelihood is through aquatic businesses, fishery and what have you. The waters are not clean, but we'll go back to oil exploration. We'll make sure that we clean the place properly. You will get compensation for all of these activities, and we'll ensure that you're carried along and everything works in the favor of both the country and you as a people. And like I said, the conversation seemed to have ended well because they were all smiles at the end of the day. Fuad, do you believe that this time around we have the structure to get it right, especially because of the pain that these people endured many years? Do you believe that this administration has the proper structure to begin oil exploration once again in that land and adequately compensate these people?
So it's difficult for me to answer because I'm not in the inner circle of government. I don't even know what they intend to do. Because as it is now, we need the oil in Ogoni land. But the big question is this: are we being fed to the Ogoni people? We need the land. We need the oil in Ogoni land. That's why the president had to call that high-powered meeting. You can see the personality, that attended that closed-door meeting. It was also nice to see Governor Fubara and former Governor Nᴏᴜsᴜnɪᴏᴜ, although keeping a straight face on it. Not that they can even be in the same room together, discuss the issues of nation building.
Where they were smiling, there's actually one that they were
when politicians smile, don't take it to heart. The next way they started their front trouble again. You understand? But at least it was nice to see that they could even be in the same room together. It was not as bad as to know I can't even sit down to have any conversation with him. Maybe because the president summoned them, if you understand what I'm saying. But the most important part of this conversation is to ask whether, look, we can be fair to the people of Ogoni land. When I served during my youth service days, I shared the same room with a youth corps member who was from Ogoni land. So I had the opportunity of listening to him, sharing the plight of the people. That was just after some years when Ken Saruwa and the 9 others Ogoni activists were murdered by the Abacha regime. And he told me stories of how their land had been completely degraded. Farmers, mostly fishermen could not even go doing anything. The farmers, the land. And we've been on this conversation of cleaning Ogoni land. I remember that during Jonathan, there were talks about billions of naira that had been earmarked to clean up Ogoni land, Buhari regime too, there were several conversations around money put aside to clean Ogoni land. We are still on that same matter. How many years down the line, say, on this cleanup of Ogoni land? But we are desperate now. We need to raise our crude oil productions, and we need the crude oil under Ogoni land. So if the government is promising fairness at this time, we probably just have to wait to see how they want to do that. Luckily, leaders, traditional rulers of that land were also in that meeting. And I'm hoping that in that conversation, they were bold enough to tell the president the truth as to the reality of their people and what they expect the government to do once oil exploration resumes again in Ogoni land. And I'm also hoping that they didn't just live there with mere promises. Maybe something tangible as to how, this exploration again can begin to directly benefit people of Ogoni land and then the environmental concerns that they've had over the years.
Well, that particular story you would find on pages 7 of the Punch newspaper. You're still listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. I am Sage Babalola. Fouad is with us via the phone. We're looking at the report that have been put forward on the front page of the Punch newspaper. We're still streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, so do well to join our live stream at Mainland 98.3 FM. We're going to move to other papers soon enough, but let's cover the bulk of the stories that have been reported on the front page of the Punch. We're still speaking about Rivers State, so to speak, or at least Sims Fubara. And Supreme Court is going to hear Wike and Fubara loyalist appeal on the 10th of February. Well, still about the State House Assembly, the sealing off of the State Assembly, amongst other things. That particular case, Fouad, it has been scheduled for the 10th of February 2025. We're going to hear the two separate suits that are filed by the All Progressives Congress that is challenging the validity of the local government election that was conducted in Rivers State in 2024. And we're also waiting to hear the judgment regarding the legitimacy of the 3-member assembly to whom Sims Fubara presented the 2024 and the 2025 budget. So I guess fingers crossed for what the judgment will be on that particular matter.
Hearing first, maybe not judgment immediately.
Okay, the hearing, I beg your pardon, yes.
Yeah, hearing starts on February 10th. So maybe the hearing will be expedited. Judgment may come very fast, we don't know, and we don't want to preempt the court. But I think it's nice that some of the cases have now been lumped together, so that at least once and for all we could see a final resolution of most of the cases in the court. Supreme Court is the apex court in the land, and so it's an interesting time really for Rivers politics. The ᴏᴜᴜ faction, Fubara faction. The Supreme Court is to have a final say. And it's interesting to be nice to know what will be the outcome of this legal battle that has been raging for some time now.
Well, that's also on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And we also have here how El-Rufai ex-Cos laundered 3.9 billion naira forex proceed, according to the ICPC. We have the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission on Tuesday arraigned Bashir Saidu, ex-chief of staff for Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, for alleged forex racketeering and money laundering. It's the second charge the anti-graft agency will file against Saidu, who also served as Commissioner for Finance during the El-Rufai administration. Earlier, he was arraigned before the Federal High Court in Kaduna on 2 counts bordering on 155 million fraud. In the fresh 10 counts presented before the Kaduna State High Court on Tuesday, the ICPC has accused Saidu of selling $45 million in government funds at the undervalued rate of 410 naira per dollar instead of the parallel market rate of 498 naira per dollar. And so the transaction, according to the ICPC, caused a 3.96 billion naira loss to the Kaduna State government, which the prosecution claims was laundered in violation of Section 16 of the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022. Fouad, after an administration, right, we see a lot of prosecution of the cabinet, those around, that's the word I'm looking for now, but never questions, particularly to the governor. I don't know if you know what I'm trying to drive home here. Yeah, it's never the principal. It's just everybody close to him. I don't understand this. I don't understand why the system is like that. Is it possible for something like this to happen? It's an allegation. Let's highlight that. But then, is it possible that these kind of operations or activities took place and the principal is 100% oblivious? Why is it never the principal but the people around him?
Well, sometimes it's always a gradual process. They start with the aides and then eventually get to the principal. But as far as the presidency is concerned, we've not seen any president has been prosecuted. It's always the ministers, the aides, the institutional special advisors, and what have you. So at that level, it is completely correct that you get this prosecution around people who work for the principal, and the principal is never called to question. For example, look at the Buhari government now. Almost how many ministers are under investigation as we speak? The CBN governor, for example, former CBN governor. They don't use the hair break coconut tire. But the man that was the president has not been called to answer any question. And I doubt if the CBN governor had done a lot of the things he did without the knowledge of the president there. But again, it's just what it is. But for El-Rufai, there are people who are already saying that, look, all these things around people who work for El-Rufai and his government at that time is merely political. Efforts by I'm saying there are people who are already speculating, who are already saying that all of this effort is to diminish the influence and the possible influence of El-Rufai towards 2027. So even if you are not going directly after him, go after his aid. The way of also calling to question what he did as governor of Kaduna State.
Discrediting him.
I'm not going to go speculative on the matter. Say anybody that has been accused would have their day in court. Luckily we run a constitutional democracy. It's about the rule of law, and most of these guys, I'm sure, also have what it takes to defend themselves in court. So I would rather wait till when these guys appear in court and see how they could be diligently prosecuted and what comes out of their defense to some of these allegations.
Well, Fuad, we're seeing that the presidency is attempting to form some sort of or have conversations with the new administration of Donald Trump. Is actually on the front page of the Punch, at least amid all the deportation threats and what have you. Now, I do know that we have something of a relationship with the Democratic Party, or at least leaders that have come out of the Democratic Party. We've had decent relationships with them, Biden, Obama, what have you. But is there any historical indication that we've been very friendly with leaders that have come out of the Republican Party? And what do you think the end result will be in this attempt by the presidency to at least maintain the trade relationship that we have with the United States, and also find some sort of consensus when it comes to the threat of deportation, amongst other things?
Well, I don't know if the Nigerian government can influence anything as to Donald Trump's intentions to deport illegal immigrants.
The whole China, he doesn't even care about the whole China.
So how much more Nigeria, right? So I doubt, because that's one of the major points of victory for him. It was one of the things he sold to his base that, of course, made him to win the election. So you can see that on day one of his administration, he has signed how many executive orders now?
At least 3-4 executive orders. The birthright, the whole...
No, he has done about 42 as of yesterday, executive orders. He's been signing. Just signing. Although most of his executive orders would amount to nothing.
I mean,
a lot of the things he's doing.
You cannot override the constitution now, just like that.
You cannot, because executive orders cannot automatically override things that have been guaranteed in the constitution. For example, the constitution gives, I think it's 14th amendment or so, gives rights to people who are born in the US, automatic citizenship. It's a constitutional matter. So even if he signs 1 million executive orders, it will not change unless the constitution is reviewed, to allow for that. So but again, Trump has to pass the message to his base that I'm serious about the promises I gave to you. Even I can tell you that most of the things he will not be able to implement. In his first 4 years, half of the things he promised he was not able to do. Right. So it's just red herring, really. Just, the initial gra-gra. Let me show them that I will do this thing. But that's not the issue here. The question you asked me about Nigeria and the possibility of us maintaining a decent relationship with the United States. Let me tell you something. America's foreign policy is the same thing. It will not change.
Right.
Things might change in orientation of who is the president at that time, but their foreign policy is clear. For Nigeria, say, the best way to go on the table with America and get respect and be respected and get a decent negotiation is to also position ourselves so that they can respect us. Look, there are nations of the world that will not beg America to sit on the table with them. They have what it takes, and they have positioned themselves for respect on the negotiation table. Trump is a transactional leader, extremely transactional. And so the question is, what do we have to offer? And how do we want to offer it? If they see the benefits and the needs to transact with us and we position ourselves in that manner, oh, America has no enemies really when it comes to a transactional leader like Donald Trump. You understand what I'm saying? The question is, are we positioned? Have we positioned ourselves? Do we have what it takes? What do we have to offer? And again, the question again comes from what our leaders are thinking at this time about our relationship with the United States. So, I don't see anything changing really, and I don't see us changing anything. We should look inwards, position ourselves for people to come in, negotiate, and do proper business with us in the most respectable way.
Page 18 of the Punch has that story. Finally, on the front page of the Punch, rural areas suffer blackouts despite 14 billion naira power spending. Now, despite spending more than 14.36 billion on alternative sources of electricity for rural areas across the Federation in 2024, the federal government has proposed to spend 1.3 trillion to deepen its effort in 2025. The Rural Electrification Agency will handle the project under the Ministry of Power. This is as the REA, which the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is probing for 12.7 billion fraud, has failed to connect hundreds of communities to the national grid. And as part of ongoing probe, the EFCC traced 27 accounts to the suspended managing director of REA, Salihijo Ahmad. And in March of 2024, Ahmad was suspended indefinitely by President Bola Tinubu alongside Olaniyi Netufo, the Executive Director, Corporate Services, Baka Saju, the Executive Director, amongst others. And rural communities in Edo, Ogun, Taraba, Yobe, Sokoto, Jigawa, Zamfara, and many other states have complained that they still have not been connected to the national grid. Now, in addition,
they will not be connected. They will not be connected.
And
they will still not be connected. It's not, you know.
I mean,
Fouad,
I mean, their plans, the money. I think the $52 million now that was linked to the Izani, the arrangement with the United States is that it will be used specifically for rural electrification. I mean, we might see a change with that. No, wow.
So the one that was put for the project before, why did it not happen? They chopped the money.
I don't know. I don't know what they do with that.
Put this story with the major story of the Guardian newspaper, and you understand what I'm saying.
Oh, I do understand what you're saying. The Guardian newspaper says over 7 million on estimated billion, despite the 1.5 trillion intervention and the free supply. So, but you used to do what they, I swear, because
it's not me for their side. Just let me watch their side this point. Look, for us to get to the point where the government is still putting money for prepaid meter distribution to Nigerians in a sector that is said to be privatized to things.
Yeah.
And how much money have we put into it?
I mean, 14 billion so far.
And as it stands today, those are recent interventions. If you read the story very well.
I mean, their past intervention, the most recent one is 14 billion naira.
If you put everything together,
there's also some 750 million agreement that we had with the World Bank as well to construct mini grids.
On the same issue.
Yes.
And as it is, we have only been able to meter about 6 million or so subscribers on prepaid meter. More than 7 million subscribers have still not been able to get prepaid meter. As we speak, despite this intervention, are you aware that people are buying prepaid meters? So you ask yourself, the money that have been put to meter people, where does it go to? Because people are paying for it. Just about, I think yesterday I was still making inquiry for prepaid meters. They now told me that one prepaid meter is now about 140 to 150,000 naira. A one first prepaid meter. People are still paying for it.
I thought there was a free metering scheme that the government initiative.
That's what I'm saying. No, monies have been put into it. That's what I'm saying. So where are the free meters? So people are still paying for it. So we keep hearing these things. People steal these monies. Look at the issue of the Rural Electrification Agency that we're talking about. Billions of naira, nobody has been put on any national grid. Instead, accounts are being opened by directors. And that's why when I say we are borrowing. We are borrowing in a semi-corrupt situation. Where at the end of the money, most of the money will end in private pocket. Do you now see why nothing gets done? Despite all the huge figures we keep talking about every day. Where are the meters? Where are the free meters? Despite all of these free meter distribution monies that we put into this thing. In a sector that we say we are privatized, though, we are still helping them to give subscribers prepaid meter. Yet they are no prepaid meters. Over 7 million subscribers You don't have meters. Oh, girl.
Well, let's hope that this new fund that has been disbursed to us or returned.
Which new fund?
The one linked to designing.
Which
I mean,
design?
we played the soundbite that time. You know.
They said design does not know about it. I was one and I said, what's the relation for Aluko and Desiani?
What?
Are we not in this country?
They are
So
friends.
suddenly they will tell us that Desiani and Aluko has no relationship.
They have just.
The father be serious with what he you don't come out and say some of this nonsense. As if we are not in this country. As if we don't know what we know. So suddenly it was one Aluko that they see the yacht from. And then the lawyers will come and tell us that we should not talk about the Desiani in the matter. As if we are dumb.
Well, whether or not they're agreeing that it was linked to her, the agreement that we had with the United States is that it would be used
If you
specifically
come back here and tell us that now, why did you see
for
that there in
rural
the UK?
electrification. That's what it's going to be used for. So at least now we have our eyes on a specific amount of money that is supposed to go into a specific project, and we can monitor very closely if they use it for this. Let's just believe that 14 billion is just. Let's just believe that it's Otilo. Let's just focus on the new money that we have.
Just like that. We just believe.
Let's just believe that Otilo.
I'm beginning to look at you one kind.
Okay, but where do you want to get the money from now? Because who has been arrested? Who is answering
We
questions?
just believe that it has gone.
Where do you want to get it back from now? Like this.
No,
There is
okay.
there's what should be, there's what is, and I'm focusing on what is at the moment. We don't have.
Let's not forget about it.
We cannot
It has gone,
trace.
it has gone.
No, we shouldn't forget about it. We should probe it. But I think that we should focus more on the new monies that we're getting for the project, while simultaneously
Has
probing.
the structure changed? Have we changed the structure? Is it not the same structure? New monies, old structure.
Let's just read the rest of the headlines that we have,
All right.
because this is we will continue to go around in circles. It's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Let me read the headlines we have on the front page of the Guardian, just like I highlighted earlier with that story. Over 7 million on estimated billing despite 1.5 trillion intervention and free supply. We have at least 13 million electricity users, and so far only 6 million have enjoyed the privilege of being metered. We still have at least 7 million that have not gotten their meters, and for 2024 they were only able to do 184,000 metering out of millions. Just 184,000 is what they've been able to do so far with all of the funds allocated. So you can read that report. Is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here over 100 terrorist financiers have been convicted in 2 years, according to President Tinubu. So they're telling you that, for those of you who say, what about the list that was sent to us and all that, well, he's saying that at least
They should give us details of the people convicted, the details, and the cases they had against them. Because that story, they don't give any other details. They just told us that we convicted them.
Well,
Let's get details. Who are the people? At what point were they convicted? Who were the cases against them?
indeed. Well, it's on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. We have World Health Organization regrets the U.S. withdrawal, anticipate review amid global health uncertainty.
What does that tell us? Go and take care of yourself. That's what they are telling you.
Nigeria is a large beneficiary of World Health Organization.
They are telling you that U.S. will not fund those things again, at least for now.
And
people should go and take care of your health sector.
Fuad, and unfortunately, as it stands, there's an alert on the outbreak of anthrax in Zamfara State. Outbreaks like this one, we usually get support from the World Health Organization.
Trump is telling you that whether it's anthrax, Ebola, or anything, we will not fund it again. People should go and sort your problem.
It's not just Nigeria, by the way. Let's make that clear. It's not a personal vendetta.
He's
doing it generally that America would not take care of you. Go and take care of yourself. It's America first. He's a nationalist. So
it's not a good thing to tell our people. Go and take care of yourself. Must we rely on them? Must we?
Unfortunately,
if they are as corrupt as we are, would they be able to fund the WHO that we will not benefit from? Let's at least also get serious. So take care of ourselves too.
Well, page 30, Nigeria risk empty hospitals over workers' exit. CMD tells Rep. They're striking. They're on strike on condition of service, amongst other things. We have our health workers that are
so we'll wait for Donald Trump to come help us do that. I like the fact that it's even pulling away from those things. Let other leaders also get serious about the price of their people.
We have
empty hospitals. We'll wait for Donald Trump. Abi?
We're due for a break, all right? Thank you very much, Fuad, for your analysis. We'll be back in 10 minutes for more conversations. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. It's the Morning Express. I'm Sage Babalola. We'll be back soon for Mainland Focus. Don't go anywhere.